What's up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I apologize for not having my intro, but I'm in the middle of working on a new one, and with the partnership, I gotta change up a couple things with what I use. But I am still back with a new review, and this time I'm reviewing the Danger at the Docks set for the 50th anniversary of G.I. Joe. This was the one I was waiting for. Now, you're seeing this picture. We saw this about 2 years ago. At different Joe conventions. It was in a concept case. We saw it at Toy Fair, and we all were like, man, we need it. We really need it. Same goes for this eel. I remember seeing him and I was like, yes, I would like to have that. And it's kind of funny too that you're seeing parts on this figure before seeing them on Retaliation. So it's possible that those parts, were first used on him before used on Snake Eyes. Anyway, I recently came across the Danger at the Docks set. I was hoping for this because this was the version that I saw first. It looks closest to the version we saw in the concept vault or case, and it looks like classic Flint, just updated in Pursuit of Cobra style. This was the version that I actually found, and I'm not actually complaining too much about it because some things are better than what you see pictured there. Other things are not. It's funny because these kind of sets really show you the difference between the prototype and what we get in the final. In some parts it's very drastic, the differences. Now, I know in Retaliation there was an absence of stands. We got some stands. I don't know, they look good. Something about them just looks different, maybe it's the font, I don't know. But I'm going to start off with the eel. I was actually a little bit surprised with him. I've always wanted the 25th anniversary eel, but I always just didn't think about him. I think actually the eel was called, this particular mold was called a frogman. But anyway, I kind of want to go back and get one now so I can see if it's any better than this, because there's aspects of this that kind of suck, and it deals with his actual specialty purpose, you know what I mean? And I've said it a million times, I hate when a figure is created with a specialty or a purpose and then you can't actually use them for that purpose, you know what I mean? If you're a sniper, you should be able to hold your sniper rifle. Like the Night Vipers, they can't hold their sniper rifles well. And like with him, he should be able to swim and do all the cool shit and wear his awesome flippers, and I'm gonna get to that. But look at all this booty. I was like, wow, you got all kinds of guns in this and weapons. I was so surprised because this was one of the reasons why I wanted this set. Some people said the guns look cheap. There are weapons and stuff in here that look cheap, like the trench knife and the old school machine gun from the old days, but everything else looks really good, especially the bigger assault rifles. They retooled some of the old ones and I love it. The Zodiac Boat is nice too, and I will get to that in a little bit, but overall you do get a lot for just this portion of the release. There are some glaring issues, and I'm going to get to those first because we've seen these guys before. The legs are reused, or maybe they were the first use of the Retaliation Snake Eyes, the movie Snake Eyes version, the actual movie accurate one that was not called Ultimate Snake Eyes. He still has issues with the knee. You can kind of see it there. That's as far as I can close it. He has the weird Marvel Legends ankle rocker, which kind of pisses me off. Here's proof that I'm not just making this up. Look at their legs. You can see he's got the baggy lower half with the knee pads and the old man shoes that he got from the thrift shop. And all the issues that figure has, this one still has on his legs. But it's an easy fix if you're a customizer, because all you have to do is open up the legs, switch out the lower half, and you'll be good. It's a matter of finding the right lower half. Once again, look at that knee. You can't pull it all the way in. You know what I mean? Like, for some odd reason, it just won't straighten up. And it's kind of frustrating because you would think that a knee like this would easily be able to, like, you know, straighten up. But it's weird. It's like the combination of plastics just don't necessarily work all the way. It's kind of hit or miss. There's a softer plastic as the knee assembly. You know, it's the mid portion of the knee holding the the thigh and the lower leg together. And for some reason on one side it held its shape properly, but on the other side it didn't. So it moves when you try to bend it. I don't like that. He has the belt from Snake Eyes from that release as well. He might even have the arms. I just didn't really look too hard at that. I just noticed the legs and the lower torso. But, you know, it's not too bad. The knives are nice. Everything else, I mean, it pretty much looks like what the eel or the frogman is supposed to look like. The helmet's done really well. Under the mask or under the helmet, he has one of those generic balaclavas, kind of like the, what are they called? The Hazard Vipers? Peg holes, they suck. They suck ass, just like the Retaliation ones. You can't really get him on his stand because the peg hole is not drilled all the way up in there. So as you can see where the light is hitting in the center of the hole, you can see how short that is, especially on the right hand side. It's really bad. And when you try to put on his flippers, you end up with gapping because, like I said, the pegs are longer than the hole. That shouldn't be in this day and age. This is the what anniversary of G.I. Joe? 50th. They should have this shit under control by now. It should be down to a science. They should be able to do this on autopilot all day, every day for the rest of eternity. But somehow somebody's asleep at the wheel at Hasbro, so we're still getting these kind of stupid QC issues. You know, I almost wish I could get a job running QC at Hasbro because I wouldn't have to do anything. It's not like they do. But overall, you know, if you don't care about the flippers, if you want to mess with the flippers and change them up, you know, and cut the pegs a little bit smaller, you got a pretty decent figure. He looks really cool with all the various versions of the eel that we've had before. If it's your Mantis sub pilot or if it's your Rise of Cobra eels, they've got enough similarities as far as their designs go and colors that he can be an eel leader, you know what I mean, or a frogman leader or something like that. And he still looks good. And you can share the weapons amongst the other guys you have. Now, the Zodiac Boat is really nice too. It's real simple. I mean, it's not much to it. It's almost exactly the old school release, even down to the radio. You know, it's such a simple, timeless design because it's something that's been in use for many years in our military, you know, and actually in various militaries all over the world. So it's not like they really had to do that much to it. I have a bigger one that can fit about 4 people, and it's a True Heroes one, and I probably would use that with this more often. But this is cool if you just want to have like 2 people infiltrate something. It's perfect, you know. But you have your oars on the side. The problem with the oars on the side is that they just are on a swivel. They're not on a universal joint, so you can't actually make them look like they're rowing, which kind of sucks. Whereas the bigger one that I have, the oars are independent, and you can just put them in somebody's hands and have them do what they do. The machine gun is on a swivel, so it can you know, move from left to right. It can kind of rotate, I guess, 360 degrees, just like the oars. But the oars can't touch the water, and that's the problem with those oars. As far as the motor in the back, you've got the little handle on it and speed control, and the whole thing actually, once again, swivels left to right, which is pretty nice. You don't really need it to do that much else, you know, so that's perfect. The propeller spins. Yay, propellers. It's exactly what it's supposed to do. I was actually kind of surprised because looking at it, I thought it was just sculpted that way, you know. Inside, like I said, you've got your radio, which is perfect. I mean, it still looks old school and the handle's kind of big, but it fits in his hands properly. And it's kind of hollowed out on the back, so that's how you know it's the original thing. You've got a shovel and an axe, which is pretty dope, you know. Once you get on land, you got to hide this thing somehow, so it works out perfectly. But the crowning jewel of this little thing is the, what you call it? I don't want to say tackle box, but it's like a locker. It has tons and tons of weaponry. I've already shown you so much of the weaponry inside. That is one of the main things that you want to look at when getting this, because it's actually weaponry that has been retooled. It's not just a shitload of weapons that may not necessarily work with your Joes like they've been doing with Retaliation, you know, like with Ultimate Duke and Lady Jaye. This is a bunch of weapons that you can actually use. There's stuff in there for your snipers. There's stuff in there for you know, your silent entry type people, because there's a crossbow that came from Road Pig. It's a lot, and it's pretty good, you know. I love it. On to Flint. Now, I was mostly into this set specifically so I could get this version of Flint. This was the deciding factor for me on this, and I was like, man, I almost felt like I wasn't going to get him, because everywhere I went, they didn't have them. Like, these things never actually hit the shelves in my area. It's like they bring them out at Toys R Us, and the scalpers are waiting for them to bring them out. I mean, there was a scalper there the day I got this, sneaking around, and the guys at Toys R Us were kind of slow rolling to actually bring the toys out. This motherfucker just cut the box open and snatched out a bunch of shit and left, and we called him out on it, and he tried to pretend like he didn't know what was going on. But that's the way it is these days, and that kind of sucks. I mean, I know that's why people buy stuff online, but I can't help it. I grew up going to the toy store, and I like being able to see my figures and try to pick the best one out of the bunch. As you can see right here, there are some issues on him. It's very small, but overall, it's a pretty dope figure. Every little piece that he had in the original version is recreated. I like his colors, because this means he could fit in with my Shadowhammer folks, you know, the Black Ops team. And Urban Camo kind of updates him. And it's funny because that's the Resolute head with a shitload of paint on it. Shitload of yellowish, tannish paint. And it makes the head look so different. But if you put them close to each other and they're side by side, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. It doesn't look bad. He looks younger. Because that was one thing about the Resolute version, is he was supposed to be older. He even had gray hair and everything. So it's kind of nice to see this. I'm not complaining. But there he is, Sam's paint. Literally all the paint on that is on his hat, his hair, his eyes, and his eyebrows. Whereas the other one, they painted over that whole thing, and you can see it because it gives the face more volume. But I'm not really complaining, you know. I dig it. At one point, I was thinking of actually switching their heads, but the skin tones don't match, so I was like, I won't even bother with that. Some people have wanted to put the Retaliation Ultimate Duke head, Ultimate Flint head on this body, but it doesn't match either. And his face is kind of derpy. At least the two that I have, the faces have been kind of derpy. So I'm just like, I'm gonna stick with it the way it is. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. You know what I mean? Not by any means is it bad. Now, I have a lot of Flint figures. Well, a decent amount, I'll say. I don't really have a lot. I have about 5 of them, I want to say. And with this one being the 5th. And, well, yeah, unless you count the one I got for a custom. But there's a lot of things that you can see on Flint over the years that are still present in this design, and I love that. It's kind of why I was so drawn to this design. Shit, it's probably why all of us were drawn to this design. They all have very specific things in common. This goes back to that video that I uploaded a couple days ago, maybe a week ago, about Ninja Turtles and how people are saying that the new ones fit the mold when they don't even look at all like what the Ninja Turtles are supposed to look like by design. You look at all these, and then you look at the Retaliation one, and you clearly can see all of them have these design cues in common. There are certain things that every version of Flint has, and those are the better versions, the ones that all have what I'm talking about. You know, with Resolute being the best modernized version up until we got this one, they still managed to keep those things, those cues that we need, so that we know it's Flint. You know, we like Flint because he's a badass. He uses a shotgun and he's got shells all over the place. That's awesome. That's one of the reasons why we like him. For me, that's why I like him. I always use shotguns in every game I play. That Flint, I mean, he's missing the majority of the cues that make Flint visually. You know, anybody could wear those clothes. Whereas like Flint, that's specifically Flint's attire, so he should at least have the right web gear. You know what I mean? The harness with the shells in it. At least put that on top of the armor. It's not impossible. All that shit really exists. But as you can see, the old school versions of Flint and the new school version of Flint all have that stuff in common, and that's the way it should be. I don't know what else there is to say about it. I mean, if you nitpick and you look closely up towards his collarbone on the right hand side, it's our left and his right. There's some slop, but overall it's just really well done. You've got several knives, and I kind of like that. Flint never struck me as a guy that would be running around using knives, but somehow it doesn't matter. Knives come in handy when you run out of ammunition, and as long as you hold on to that knife, you can keep fighting, you know what I mean? You're not going to run out of quote-unquote ammunition with a knife. There's his flashlight, a little pouch. It looks nice. We've seen those on other Joes, like Lifeline. I have no problems with it. I mean, he's wearing BDUs, they work. The belt buckles, you saw the double belt buckles on every version except for Retaliation Flint. And they still got them here. Got the big old pouches, and it works, you know? You can see more of the flaws on his arms, or his hands, his lower arms and his hands. I don't know what the fuck is going on there. Here's the other knife and his pistol, and I love that. I love when they have their sidearm as well as whatever their primary, you know, assault rifle or larger weapon is. That just makes them look more tactical. It makes them look more ready. I mean, the Joes are supposed to look like they know what they're doing, you know? There's the back portion of the harness, really old school, really heavy duty when you think about it. It's got the 2 canteens. It's like he is ready for war, and he's going to be fighting for a long time. A lot of people were talking about on his the upper portion of the harness in the back, there's that little block peg. I guess that was going to be a sling for his shotgun. That would have been nice. I don't know how they ran out of money for that, you know what I mean? You could have, like, taken out some of the redundant weapons in the big old locker for the eel and just used that allotted amount of plastic for this in the set, you know what I mean? It just, I don't get why they make the ideas why do they plan things the way that they plan things? But you know, here's the side view again, so you can see all of the goodness and how cool everything looks, and some of the annoyances. It's not as bad from the side, but it's there. Excuse me. There he is from the front. I like the ribbed turtleneck. That's pretty cool. It's just a really well done design. Everything feels like Flint, and that's the most important part of this design. It feels like Flint. It doesn't feel like they took another Joe and just repurposed and repainted all the parts to give us a Flint figure. And that's the part that I'm happy about, because all too often that's what we've been getting from Hasbro. Clean paint apps on his hair all the way into the back of his neck. You don't have any of that black paint slopping down onto his neck, so props for that. You can see it's different from the beret. Now his hands, the fuck, you couldn't paint the hands properly? I mean, that looks like an amateur custom job. You know what I mean? And I might be being harsh, but a lot of these figures have those kind of issues where, like, you get to their hands, like Leatherneck was like that, so I left that set when I saw it. He had all this shit going on his hands. It was worse than this. I was like, nope, even though I want that Destro, I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it. Look at this. It's like a kid was chewing on his hands or something. I mean, that's not, no. We pay $30 for this set, and that's what we get for his hands. I mean, look at Ultimate Flint. They use Ultimate Flint because that was the last Flint we got before this. Look how clean that black paint is. I mean, yeah, there's some slop when he gets down to his wrist, but look how clean his hands are. And then look how shitty the ones are on that Flint. I mean, look at his wrist, or his forearm, I mean. That's not professional at all. But in this case, I got him already. I gotta overlook it, or I could replace it with someone else's arms if I can find some arms that work, you know, lower arms that work well without painting them. It looks cool next to Lady Jaye. Granted, Lady Jaye is not wearing urban camo. She still looks cool, and he looks cool. They look professional. They look tactical. It doesn't matter. You can still tell it's Lady Jaye and Flint. That's why I really want the Lady Jaye that comes with the Baroness. You know what I mean? If I find her, I will be really happy. All in all, as far as the figure goes, it's not the greatest, but it's not the worst. The quality overall is not quite what we're used to. It doesn't really touch your, you know, Rise of Cobra, your Pursuit of Cobra, your 30th anniversary and Renegade stuff. It doesn't really touch that because there's issues where there shouldn't be, but it's a still nice figure. Now the Vamp. Oh man. I was not a fan of the 25th anniversary Vamp because I had already seen the proposed pictures of what the Vamp Mark whatever 4 that was. I think that's the Mark 4, what we got for Pursuit of Cobra. Anyway, I saw the Pursuit of Cobra Vamp and I was like, yep, that's what I'm getting. Now my son, he's all about the 25th anniversary stuff. Now, this looks fast, but it's like a giant go-kart. When I say giant go-kart, try putting him in there without taking off the top of the Vamp. You know, you can click off the top because you have to put all that together anyway. Try putting him in there without it. He can barely fit. I was like, really? And this is a 2-seater also? Like, that's kind of bad. You know what I mean? Like, you should have just given us a 2-seater, chop off the back seats, the whole back section of the Pursuit of Cobra Vamp, and just squash it a little bit and add that in a pack. That would have made more sense to me. I mean, granted, it would have been a little bit more bigger of a vehicle. Still, at least you can put your figures in there without breaking them in the process. I literally had to take off the top of this thing to slide him in and then position him around the vehicle. His arms don't sit holding onto the wheel properly. It's just, ugh. But anyway, you see the decals, the missiles, all the missiles were individual, so you can pull them out. The decals, you can put them wherever you want. I like to use minimal decals on mine. I just put the ones that count. I should have said that the hood opens, but I mean, if you had a Vamp from the 25th anniversary, you already know that because it's exactly the same thing. They just added a bunch of pieces, like the doors and the roof piece and the 2 water jugs on the back. A lot of people have been putting the sticker application on the flat, the front face, the widest face of the thing, and it doesn't go there. It goes on the skinnier faces. Come on. There's a big dent in the center. You should know that. And I saw some reviews where people were complaining, and I'm like, come on, guys. 50th anniversary. The shovel is still removable, just like before. Yeah. A lot of these parts came already assembled. You know what I mean? Like the headlights were already in there. The shovel was already stuck on there. You basically just put all the gray, you know, urban chocolate chip camo. You put all that piece on top of the actual like chassis with the wheels and everything already connected. So, you know, overall it's not horrible, but it pales in comparison to the Pursuit of Cobra Vamps. Plain and simple. Shit, this thing pales in comparison to the Humvee from the Corps. You remember that one? Actually, I'll show you a picture of it so you can see what I'm talking about. I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone and just show you both. The Mark II, that's what it was the Mark II, and the Corps, heavy Humvee. Wow. Jesus, the Hummer. Jesus Christ. HV is what they called it. Yeah, it's just, it pales in comparison to those, so it's almost like, yeah, why are people making such a big deal about this vehicle? Why is this going for $44.99 on eBay by itself, when the pack itself is a $30 pack? You know what I'm saying? Like, too many of you Joe fans are going nuts over things that you already have. And, you know, the scalpers are really taking advantage of you guys, and it's just kind of stupid that you allow this shit to happen. I'm not saying you can't have fun with it. You will have fun with it once you get it, because it's another vehicle. You know, we always have fun with vehicles because we don't get them often. But be realistic about this shit, you know what I mean? Like, it's fun to play with. It looks good in your dioramas or your little setups when you're playing. It'll probably take a beating, because that's one good thing about a lot of these Hasbro vehicles, is that many of them are made with some really good plastics that can stand up to some play. But it's not an $80 set. There's no reason why you should be paying any more than retail for it. If you pay more than retail, it should just be because of shipping. You should not be paying $80 for this. That's just stupid. I like the set overall. I'm not disappointed at all by it. I mean, it fell a little short in some areas of what my expectations were, but I'm not pissed off that I bought it. And I love the Flint figure. Obviously, with some work, he can be great, and it's just minute work. All I have to do is change his hands, really, and probably add some paint, or maybe add scars or some cuts to his wrists to make him excuse me, sorry, to make him look a little bit you know, battle worn somewhat. But all in all, it's not a horrible set, so you know, I recommend picking it up if you get a chance. So this has been my review of the 50th anniversary Danger at the Docks set. I'm Strident, and I hope you guys dug my review. Pretty much that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I will see you guys on the next review. Peace outside.